right, welcome back to the halftime podcast. We're in Bridgeport, Connecticut at Metro Art Studios. And I'm here with Alicia Cobb. Um, you want to introduce yourself and what your studio is called and what it's all about, and we'll get started.
Yeah, so my name is Alicia Cobb. I am a visual artist based in Bridgeport. Body painting is one of the things that I do. The name of my business is Art Simplicated, simple and complicated because I do all things art and I kind of just merge the words together. I've been a full time artist for almost 11 years, and body painting happens to be my favorite form of art. And I know we'll get into conversation about that, but I'm excited to be here.
Right. So before body painting, I know you said you love body painting, but what were you doing before that, or was that something you've done since the beginning?
No, body painting isn't what I started with. Actually, I started out canvas painting, the regular everyday stuff. And my children at the time, I took them to a museum and this girl was face painting and I saw her face painting and it looked like it was a really cool experience. So I decided to get some supplies for myself and I started face painting first. And I had severe social anxiety
Hmm.
and it was really easy to paint kids and watch their smiles and watch them walk away versus having to socialize with adults. So it started out as far as body was concerned with just face paint. And after many years of face painting, I thought it would be cool to paint a body. I didn't know if it was an art form. I didn't know much about it at all. I was pretty sheltered. And I started to do some research online and I found that there was an entire community of people that painted bodies.
Yeah.
And so I started to get into it. But I'm a canvas artist, I'm a muralist. I pretty much paint anything I could get my hands on.
And so, how do people interact with your art? So, how do they come across you?
Most of the time, I'm doing something out in the community in public. I am very active in my community, so I do a lot of live body painting. Like, we'll have community events, farmers markets, arts fest. That's kind of how I got started. I would be outside. People would commission me to be outside painting,
Okay.
and that's kind of how I got started. And now, in my community, I just because I've done so much. People just know how to find me now. They just know where to look or call or how to contact me. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Stamford, Connecticut. I was born and raised. And then around the time that I was 20, I ended up buying my first house here in Bridgeport. It was
Oh,
the only
wow.
affordable place to
Okay.
buy a house. And I had just had a baby, and I didn't want her to have the experiences that I had in Stamford because I did grow up in Stamford, but it was pre gentrification Stamford. Um, so I had some pretty crazy experiences growing up, and I was adamant that my daughter would not have those same experiences. And so we bought our first house here in Bridgeport when I was 20 years old.
Okay.
And I tell people all the time I was born and raised in Stamford, but Bridgeport is my city. This
Sure.
is where I was planted and bloomed.
Perfect. How old is your daughter?
My daughter now
Yeah.
is 27 going on 28.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
And I know you just got married.
I did.
Um, how long have you and your husband been together?
We've been together almost 5 years.
Okay.
We were friends. We were actually friends for 11 years before we even started dating. So
Oh, that's
foundation
great.
of friendship is a secret sauce that we didn't know about until now.
And what does he do?
My husband he's also an artist. He is a poet, a rapper, a teaching artist. He does a lot of amazing writer, does a lot of creative things.
Okay. Um, all right. So let's talk about this building and kind of the art scene in Bridgeport.
Hmm.
Um, how did this building come about, and are there similar places like this in the
Yeah,
city?
absolutely. So Metro Art Studios is where my space is, and I've been here for almost 4 years. And there are other buildings. Actually, Bridgeport has, I want to say, about 8 buildings dedicated to artists. This building was actually built in 1907. It was a corset factory. So a lot of really good feminine energy.
Hmm.
It was also part of the original 9 to 5 walkout. So women walked out basically protesting that they shouldn't have to work 12 to 16-hour days and then go home and take care of families.
Okay.
And so this was one of the locations of the first 9 to 5 walkout, which was cool. But we have 38 studios, 42 artists in total. Um, and just the art scene in Bridgeport in general is a really it's a really beautiful place to be. It's a beautiful place to be growing as an artist. I have been embraced by a huge hug here and really grown as an artist. There's also a live workspace similar to Art Space in Hartford. We have an art space here in Bridgeport as well,
Okay.
which is live work lofts. But then we also have a bunch of other industrial, which started as industrial buildings that are um, now artist studios.
It's a great use of space. Um, just curious, are there also community gardens here?
We do have community gardens, probably not as many as I think we would like to, but it's definitely picked up in the last few years, especially since COVID.
Mm-hmm.
People are understanding that it is really important that we grow our own food, that we know how to cultivate. And so they are on the rise here for sure.
So we were talking offline. I was mentioning that, I spent a decade and a half in Baltimore, and we were talking about how places like Bridgeport and Baltimore, New Haven and Hartford get a bad rap. Um, talk about why the perception. What's the perception of Bridgeport from the outside, and why why is that not accurate?
So the perception of Bridgeport, based on what I hear, the perception of Bridgeport from the outside is that it's violent, it's dirty, it's poor, it's unsafe. And that has never been my experience. I have been in this city for close to 30 years and I've never felt unsafe. In fact, I've always felt the total opposite, no matter what side of town I'm in.
Right.
Just like anywhere you go, different sides of town have different energies and different things going on. But I've never felt unsafe here. It is a city full of creativity, full of love, full of, I don't like the word potential because I hear people say that about Bridgeport all the time.
Right.
Potential, but also it exists. It's not even, that it doesn't exist. I just think people don't give it a chance and don't know. Like, I feel like people really need to come and experience it for themselves.
Yeah.
And so that's one of my goals.
Yeah. It's easy to talk about it from the outside when
Hmm.
you've never sat, on someone's stoop or been into buildings like this or met folks like you. I think obviously in this current situation we're in the U.S., there's a lot of assumptions about these places we find beauty in.
Hmm.
Um, what other types of things in the city are going on to combat that,
So
either directly or indirectly?
So I think there's a lot going on in this city to combat it directly. I am really closely affiliated with the downtown area. I not only live downtown, but I am involved with the downtown. I just became a downtown commissioner, which means I hold a seat as far as decisions that are made in the city, in the downtown area specifically.
Wow.
So downtown and beyond downtown, like one of the things that we have going on right now is a lot of public art.
Hmm.
So downtown specifically, we have a lot of murals that have started to show up in the last few years, and it really is helping to bring a different synergy to the city. People are coming; they're interested. We have a lot of entertainment here too. We have the amphitheater. We have, the we have a few entertainment venues here, a few theaters downtown, which are really cool. Um, we have the downtown cabaret theater. We have the Bijou theater. We have the arena, and so there's so much that is happening here. But outside of all of these entertainment venues, there's a lot of underground stuff happening too. So we have an underground poetry event that's been happening for 20 years this year called
Nice.
Poets Realm. And that's something where artists from all walks get to come and share their voices, whether they're poets, singers, storytellers. Like, it's just a safe space for people to come and share their voices, which is a really beautiful thing. And so we have underground things. We have a lot of um, just a lot of creative things happening, and the economy is growing. And I'm definitely seeing signs of gentrification, which unfortunately you just can't really get away from.
Yeah.
Um, especially in the areas that I'm involved in. I'm definitely see it happening, but I'm hoping that being involved will stop certain things from happening, because with gentrification, the people who are in place get pushed out,
Right.
and that's not what I want to see happen. And it specifically seems to happen to creative people, right?
Of
They come
course.
in, they make a community better, and then they
Yeah.
kick us out.
Yeah. And I mean, so this, a huge theme in this whole project is community, building community, maintaining community. And it's interesting that, um, the perceptions of what a community looks like, feels like, and is like, the dominant uh, view becomes more important and changes the lives of those who actually live here.
Hmm.
So it's really cool to hear that you're part of more of the decision making realm. It's definitely something I've been more and more interested in as well. Um, so tell me more about uh, who comes to get body painted.
Oh,
Who are your clients?
that's a great question. So I get people from all walks. It could be when I originally started, it was just an idea and it was for fun.
Yeah.
But social media and the internet have a way of spreading things that you don't anticipate. And so my first time body painting somebody was in 2009, experimentally, and Facebook was pretty prominent at that time. It was kind of new, and everybody was there, and they hit the internet. And the first call that I got was actually from the African Student Association at UConn.
Oh wow.
They wanted me to come and paint some of their students for their fashion show that was coming up. And so I had to paint 9 bodies in, I don't know, 6 hours. It was insane. I'm not really sure to this day how I did it,
Wow.
but it was my first big thing. I get everything from cultural experiences to pregnant women who want to commemorate their pregnancies, to survivors of cancer, to people battling alopecia and other disorders, to people who experience loss, to people who are dealing with body dysmorphia. Um, and body dysmorphia is a big thing. And I only recently discovered that my body painting has actually helped me to heal from my own body
Mm.
dysmorphia.
So
And you'd be surprised how many people actually suffer from it.
so if you guys can't tell, I'm being body painted. And so it's interesting that you bring that up because I definitely, knowing that we were going to do this, I've been anxious about this. It's not something I would normally do. And, thinking about why. So it's interesting to hear that other people go through that as
Mhm.
well. Do you get a lot of men who are willing to get body painted?
I wish I got more men, to be honest with you. My current husband was my very first male model, to
Oh,
be honest
interesting.
with you. And when we met, which was 2010, he was auditioning for a fashion show. We became friends at that time, but he was the only male at that point that I had painted, because most of the clients that I get are women. And I can't really speak to why that is. I think in general, women seem to be a little more open to these kinds of experiences.
Yeah,
Um, and women are a little more honest about their emotions when it comes to their feelings about their bodies.
yeah. Well, it definitely requires a level of vulnerability. I can say
Mhm.
this is, like I said, this is new. In another episode, I participated in a massage. That's new to me. There's a certain vulnerability and intimacy to have somebody that close to you, or this close to you, right? So it seems like it could be a therapeutic thing for men, you know, to figure out how to better engage in the world. And that seems weird to talk about as, you know, stretching from body painting all the way to how you interact with the world, but there seems to be a connection.
There's definitely a connection. And yes, it requires a lot of vulnerability. And I, for one, I feel like artists need to know and understand their responsibilities, um, the power and responsibility that comes with being an artist, specifically one that is working with a body, right?
Hmm.
I'm aware of the fact that you are living, you are breathing, you are standing in front of me. And I understand that this is a vulnerable thing to do.
Right.
Taking your It's one thing to be naked, partially naked, but you're literally, when you're standing and allowing somebody to contact you in this way,
Right.
it is really vulnerable. And we don't even know each other. We
Right.
only are just meeting. So it's a really vulnerable thing to do this. And that has been my experience with every person I've ever painted.
Right.
I have people who come in here that are seemingly perfect, right? When you think about what a person looks like, right? Models, specifically, people who are thin and don't have stretch marks and they
Yeah.
have no imperfections, they are just as nervous.
Hmm.
And they're not typically, struggling with their body image per se, but getting, it's kind of like burying your soul in a lot of ways.
Right.
And I would imagine for like, a poet to get up on the mic and spit, it's like spilling your soul,
Yeah.
putting your art on canvas in a gallery for people to look at. It is a piece of yourself. And so I
Right.
don't take for granted the fact that people stand here and let me paint their bodies, which is a very vulnerable thing to do.
Yeah. Having been a poet for a long time, I say this is probably more difficult.
Yeah.
Um, you know, your words, you have more control over your words, right? Um, and how you present them to the world.
Hmm.
Um, so it's part of building um, community is there's a reciprocity to it, right?
Hmm.
How many? So when you have clients and you're either doing body painting or some other interaction where they're taking part in your art, how often do those relationships last?
Honestly, it depends. So a lot will come back again. And I do my best to stay connected to people. It doesn't always happen. Some of my very early work, like UConn, I think I connected with one student. I met a lot of students that day.
Yeah.
I painted a lot of people that day. I think I connected with one and might be in contact with one to today. And it's not even like we talk on a regular basis. It's more like social media, how you doing
Right.
kind of
Right. Right.
thing. But it's not, as far as connecting with them ongoing in communication, that doesn't happen that frequently unless we have an ongoing working relationship. I have made friends. I do have people that I've met that I have maintained connection with. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. The officiator of my wedding,
Hmm.
I painted her many, many
Oh,
years
wow.
ago. She, at the time that I painted her, was battling alopecia. She had just started to lose her hair. So she was growing this really cool mohawk. And I painted her half white tiger and half cyborg, because of the fight. That was kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
symbolism. And we've maintained communication mostly via social media. But even when I reached out to her about officiating my wedding, she was so grateful for that experience, of being painted many, many years ago.
It's
When
really
I start
cool.
to talk about, like, oh, well, let us know what your fee is. And she was like, no, I want to bless you back the way you blessed me. And that was really cool because I wasn't expecting that. So sometimes I get some really cool friendships, and sometimes it's just a one and done situation. Like, that was an amazing experience, and we'll chalk it up to that.
Right.
And maybe I'll see them in passing. So it really depends.
And within the artist community, do you feel like you find a lot of collaboration opportunities, or is it kind of a solo journey?
That also depends. I actually thrive in community. I
Yeah.
thrive in collaboration. So I kind of seek those opportunities out. But in a lot of ways, it is still very solitary because most of the artist community is not necessarily collaborative.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of artists just like to work alone. It's a very solitary journey for a lot of people. But for me, this is kind of where I found my voice.
Right.
And so for me, it's super important to find other creatives who are willing to create alongside me, collaborate with me, whatever that looks like for them.
Yeah, I find in creative spaces, since I've moved back to Connecticut, in creative spaces, educational spaces, nonprofit spaces, there's not as much collaboration as I would hope.
Yeah.
And I always wonder why that is.
Ego, I think.
Yeah.
I think people ego and fear, which is still tied to ego. I think that a lot of artists see each other as competition instead of uh, collaborative partners. I think people don't realize we don't do this alone.
Hmm.
We can't do this alone. And I think people are caught up in the fear of somebody. I know in the art world specifically, oh, I don't want to give people my secrets because they might steal
Right,
it.
right, right,
You know what I mean? And that's the biggest thing I've gotten is, oh, if I show somebody how to do this, they're gonna take it and run with it.
right.
Well, if they do that, then that means that's what they're meant to do.
Yeah,
I don't sit in a space of concern. I have a motto that I've kind of the organization that I work with, I kind of have adopted to this organization. And for me that motto or that phrase is collaboration over competition.
yeah, right.
I am the only person I'm competing with is myself. I want to be a better version of myself today than I was yesterday,
I agree
and
with that.
so on. And so I just think more than anything, it's fear.
Yeah. And it's funny, even in the like in education and nonprofits where you're working with people and you're bringing a certain service, it would seem like you want to lean on other people who maybe do, a segment of that better, or um, just so that you can offer things at a higher level. But I think in this society where we're all taught to get our own and have our own and
Hmm.
be individualistic, it's really hard to break through that. What do you think I know we talked about kids a little earlier before this, before the camera came on, but what do you think the overall role of art is in society? What's the importance?
Oof, that is a question. The overall importance of art in society. I think it is a way of one expression. Art helps people to express themselves. Art helps people to feel something.
Mm,
It's provocative, whether it's provoking thought or feeling. I think that it is a means of expression, expressional healing.
yeah,
I feel like I know for sure that art is the way that I have healed from many things. So I do think it's a form of healing. I think it's a form of connection. I feel like it's universal. So and different art forms. So we're thinking I'm a visual artist,
mm,
right? But my favorite form of art is actually dance. I don't dance, but I love watching
yeah,
dancers. I love working with dancers, right? You got music, you got writing, you have so many different forms of art. And I think during the pandemic it really came to light that art is universal because I started doing these virtual classes on Facebook live,
hmm.
and I ended up getting kids from India, Russia,
Oh wow,
all over the world that were logging into these classes that I was doing for an hour a day. These two siblings from Russia could not speak one word of English, but they were able for an hour to be in this class with me and paint with me on in a whole different part of the world, not understanding anything that I'm saying, but they followed what I did.
the art was the language.
The art was the language.
Yeah,
And so art is universal. Every form of art speaks to people differently. Like I don't know how to do what I do without music.
yeah,
It doesn't mean I can't paint in silence, but music does something different. It transforms that. And
right.
so I think art is a universal language. I think it's connection. I think it's healing. I think it has so many things. And if you go back in history, art is the way that we find out what was happening, right? And I think of a famous quote by Nina Simone, and she says, the job of an artist, and this is not verbatim, but the job of an artist, as far as she's concerned, is to tell the story of the times, right?
Mm,
It is our job to basically write, paint, do. We're supposed to talk about what is happening. What's the
right.
reality of what's happening right now?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because I think a lot, especially starting this project and going from, you know, a paycheck and a salary, to having to basically create my existence. So I've been thinking about art more as in terms of creativity, in broader term. I'm thinking about as humans, we kind of have a need and a responsibility to create,
Mhm.
because otherwise things stay the same. And unfortunately, in a lot of fields, even fields that should be creative, like education, you spend a lot of time keeping things the same, right? And so I would imagine you um, find yourself closer to your humanity as you create.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's funny that we can't seem to understand why kids want to listen to music while they do their work, um, or you know want to do things other than what the external source is saying to do.
Mhm.
Because our inner source says create something, make something new, be a part of it. Yeah. Um, so where do you see this going? Are you where you want to be? Do you have goals for the future in terms of how to develop your artistic presence in the world?
So as far as my artistic presence in the world, I never have a goal or had a goal of developing an artistic presence. Um, I don't feel like I chose art; it chose me.
Mm,
And even I just had this conversation actually with somebody yesterday. I've never actually the paintings that I do have never been in an effort to please anybody else. I remember when my very first year being an artist, I was trying to figure out what people would buy.
yeah,
This happened to me. And I remember thinking specifically, what are people with money gonna buy, right? And because how else do I make a living unless I create things that people with money are going to buy?
I love this
And
conversation.
oh,
Yes,
and I hated everything that I was creating.
yeah,
It was like landscapes, and it was not anything that natural. It felt natural. It felt
right.
forced. It just didn't feel like me.
Hmm.
And then about a year in, I started to just sit in front of canvas and see what would come out. And it was um, Africa and um, tribal things and butterflies and women's bodies and just things that felt more in line with my spirit. And so I made the decision that whatever I created, if it resonated with people, then it did. And if it didn't, it didn't. And I knew very early on that in order to survive financially, I was going to have to create multiple streams. And so that's what I did. So face painting, right, became a stream of income for me. Teaching art became a stream of income, but it's all still in art,
In art, right?
right? But when it comes to what I actually create, whatever my spirit tells me to create, if you look at the years of my work, it is so different. It
Yeah,
sometimes I look at my work and I'm like, it doesn't even look like the same person painted this for me because I was a different version of myself.
that's amazing. And have you ever created something that it just doesn't seem like it was for anybody, like no one else connected with it, but then down the line,
Hmm.
the right person
Hmm.
found it?
I have a lot of work that I connect with, and maybe other people don't. And as artists, when we put our art out into the world, we know that it might not ever go anywhere. It might continue to stay on our walls or our shelves, whatever it is. But maybe it will resonate with somebody. And my goal has never been um, to go out into the world and sell art.
Mm,
My goal as a human has always been to continue to grow. I'm kind of fascinated and borderline obsessed with transformation. I love
me too.
that we evolve on a regular basis. And I really don't have people in my life on a regular basis that are not interested in evolving.
Yeah,
Because if
that's
we're not
important.
evolving, what are you doing? You know
Right,
what I mean?
right. What is the whole point?
What's the point?
Um, yeah, I feel like I've been talking a lot about the bubble. We've created a bubble that's it's a big part of it is screens that we're on.
Hmm.
A big part of it is that individuality, those islands that we're kind of talking about, um, and just reproducing more of the same.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so you don't tell me if you don't want to go in this direction, but how is the current state of this country, how does that affecting you personally, and how do you feel like it's affecting the city, the environment around you?
So the current state of this country, well, this city specifically, is like a mini version
Yeah,
of this country politically.
yeah,
We have a leader that has been convicted and served time for
yeah,
taking money, and then gets reelected.
yeah.
I'm not going to say too much about that, but that
I mean, we can say as much
that
as
is
my
something.
podcast.
Yeah, no, but I mean, for me, like
Yeah.
it's something that is mind boggling to me. The state of the world right now, I will tell you, I am one of those people who is very careful about what I absorb, and I'm not even
Yes.
talking about just my food. I'm talking
Yes.
about what I watch, who I talk to, the people I keep in my life,
Hmm.
the environments I stand in, and so I don't watch the news. I do know enough
Right.
to know that there is an extreme change happening right now. There's a lot of people that are in fear on a daily basis. I am deeply disturbed by a lot of the things that I find out about and what I do see. I don't watch the news, but I am on social media. And so that
Hmm.
is a form of news in a lot of ways.
It is.
Um, and so I think it's disturbing, but I'm also a very spiritual person. And I believe that everything is happening in its own divine timing. And I believe that systems have to completely break down to be rebuilt. And I believe our system was designed to
Yeah.
do a certain thing, and that
Hmm.
has to be broken now so that we can rebuild something different. And I feel like what is happening is the foundation or rebuilding of a new world.
Right.
This next generation, I have two kids that are Gen Z.
Yeah.
And they are different, man.
Yeah.
They are built different, and a lot of people say a lot of things about them. The entitlement, they just move very differently, but they don't fall for whatever is thrown in their face.
That's right.
They ask questions, and they will call you out on your BS.
Right.
Okay, and so that is something that I'm very hopeful about. Um, I'm not afraid.
No.
I believe that what is happening in its own divine way, and I believe that what is going to come of it actually is going to be really, really beautiful.
Right.
But it's going to be ugly before we get to that point.
I agree with you 100%. I think of, I mean, we are a part of the ecosystem. We're part of nature, and things evolve in nature. And sometimes that means certain things are destroyed and go back into
Mm-hmm.
to the soil, and new things grow. Right. And I think that's what's happening. Um, I agree with you. The Gen Z, you're Gen X, right?
I'm Gen X, yes.
So I find my son, who's the videographer, um, is Gen Z, and my daughter's Gen Z. I mean, yeah. um, I find a lot of similarities personally between Gen X and Gen Z. They're like the continuation of us,
The better version
right?
of us.
Um, they feel freer to be who we were pushing to be, right? Kind of
Mm-hmm.
rebelling and pushing against the system and not
Mm-hmm.
accepting what is. Um, and they made spaces for us, but more just to accommodate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even things like the X Games and things like, we were pushing the limits and starting to fight the power and things like that. So it's interesting. That's one of the areas I really want to go into, is helping folks to figure out what to do with Gen Z, um, especially since Gen X is probably more often than not their bosses. Um, and so, but I think their freedom is an asset.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we see it as a scary thing, but we can.
I think we see it as a scary thing because it's not something that is, and this I think happens from generation to generation, right? It's unfamiliar to us because specifically, I specifically want to touch on the subject of mental health,
Yeah,
which mental health, spiritual health, however you want to see it. These kids are dealing with levels of anxiety and depression at like alarming rates, right? And it's not that we didn't have anxiety and depression, but we were told
not to.
suck it up. Anybody got time for your feelings?
Literally not. No. Cut it out.
And that is something that, you know, like even with my own kids right now, we're healing through that. I've had to apologize to my
Yeah.
kids for
Yeah.
trying to minimize their feelings and telling them that it's not important, because that's what happened to me. Just because it happened to me doesn't mean it's right. And how do we make change if we're not willing to look at ourselves in the mirror and take ownership for what we've done wrong?
Right.
Or I didn't even say wrong, what we've repeated.
Or
Because you can only do what you know.
right. Or even, I respect your opinion. I disagree with you, but you know, I'm proud of you for being able to state your opinion.
That's it.
That's all right.
That's it. We can agree to disagree and still love and respect each other. And I think that is part of the problem with the world right now, to be honest with you. People feel like their opinion is the only opinion.
Right.
And if you don't agree with them, you're wrong.
Right.
And now we have to be enemies.
Right.
Why? Why do we have to be enemies? Why can't we just agree to disagree?
Right.
And move in our own direction, or work together respectfully, just knowing that we have a difference.
Right.
It's what makes the world beautiful, those differences. Because if I was around people all day, every day, that thought exactly like me, where is the growth opportunity?
There's not one.
There's no growth opportunity in that.
No.
And for me, that's not what we're here for.
That's so important. Yeah, though, I mean, I do feel bad for Gen Z, that generation, and generations to come, because they, all of the issues of the world that when we grew up, only our parents were really dealing with, um, it's right there all the time in their news feeds, in their For You page. You know, it's just everywhere. And if you're, you know, 16, 20 years old, you've experienced for a great part of your life the way things are right now. So, you know, you may not know that people had more hope before. I think in the end they'll find that when all of this balances back out, they'll be able to experience it. But it kind of sucks.
I remember getting into an argument with my daughter many, many years ago. And her words to me in response to what I said to her, specifically around the future. What future?
Yeah.
What future?
Right.
You all have destroyed the earth.
Yeah.
You all have destroyed so much.
Yeah.
You know, the generations before us have destroyed everything. And then you want to talk to us about a future. We don't feel like we have one.
Right. Or that anybody listens. Like, there's no progress. There's nothing anybody can do about it. That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
They don't think there's anything that anybody can do about it. But you know what? That's probably how they felt originally in the 50s and 60s. You know, again, it goes through cycles.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions that I ask everyone that are similar. Well, this one is similar to what we've been talking about, but if you could sum it up, how do you feel like you feed the people?
Ooh.
It's tattooed on my wrist. It's an important question.
Feed the people.
How do you feel like you feed the people?
That is a really deep question. Based on what I feel like I feed the people through my art, through my words, through my presence, through showing up. And lately, through my rest.
Explain more about that.
So I have always, you know, this is a Gen X thing, I think, and just in general, like a trauma response is always doing. And my value,
pushing.
Yeah, and my value has always been tied to what I'm doing. And I am stepping into a season of my life where I'm like, no, I actually need to rest, because that is a part of productivity.
It's true.
And I need to honor my body and who I am in the world. And so I am better in my classrooms, and I'm better when I show up to paint a body or be a part of anything in the community now, because I actually know when my body says, hey, sit down.
Yeah.
It used to be I was forced to. I would get sick. Now I'm like, I'm feeling a little worn down. I think I'm just going to take the day to do nothing.
It's really important.
And so I think I give back. I feed the people honestly through rest and encouraging that, not forcing it, but encouraging that in other people too, because if you're not resting, what quality are you really bringing to the table? You know?
I feel like that's also where you can foster new ideas,
Absolutely.
develop them in your mind before you put them on paper, on a canvas, or into words. Um, yeah, that's really important. Um, so, on the opposite side of that, what are people starving for?
Ooh, I feel like people are starving to be seen.
Mm,
I feel like all anybody ever really wants is to be seen and to know that they matter and to feel like they belong. And I think that's why community has always been important to me, because I grew up with four children in my family. I had three brothers, so there's four of us all together.
mhm,
But there were just times growing up where I was in this big family and I didn't feel like anybody saw me. My parents were dealing with their own levels of trauma,
mm.
and I think when you are in a space of invisibility, you just want to feel seen and heard. And I think that's what people are starving for. They want to feel like they belong. They want to know that they matter. They want to feel seen. They want to feel heard.
That's one thing I don't think that this new generation will necessarily have to suffer. Whereas Gen X, I think I find more and more that we've been suffering from that for a long time. Not feeling seen or heard.
I feel like they demand it.
They demand it.
I feel
We
like
also
this generation
made it
demands it.
possible for them to do that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great thing. They're going to push us forward. Yeah, I agree with you with what people are starving for, and it's important that we fill those gaps or feed them.
Hmm.
Um, where's your favorite place to be in this world?
Home.
Interesting. Why is that?
Um, Home is where I rest. It
Okay.
is a sacred space. It is where I meditate. It's where I pray. It's where everything and everyone I love is. And home is not necessarily a space. To me, home can be people.
Mm.
And so I have some people that are home to me. So home, um, and I'm a Cancer. We love being home. It's
Home.
just we're home bodies. It's kind of in our personality traits in our DNA. But home is my favorite place to be. Being with the ones that I love, being with the people that matter to me the most. That is where I love to be.
And I imagine that wasn't always the case.
No, actually, I think as a child, anywhere but home.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Nobody saw me there.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Everybody was going through their own stuff, and we were all kind of functioning. And so, growing up, home definitely. It wasn't that I didn't feel safe on some levels there, but it just wasn't necessarily safe space always. And I definitely didn't feel seen or heard there. By no fault, again, of my parents. They were dealing with their own things. My
mm,
mom was battling depression, which I didn't know. I'm sure my dad was as well, but they come from the generation before us that was even more silent,
yeah.
um, in so many ways. And so I think with each generation, we get better at expression, we get better at being honest and authentic to ourselves and the people that we love.
You grew up with both parents.
I did not. I grew up in a single parent household. My dad, when they got divorced, kind of disappeared for a little while. And then when I got pregnant with my daughter, we reconciled, and he is a huge part of my life now. I love
Nice.
my dad dearly, and I've healed my relationship with both my parents, thank God, because they're both still here. And I get to spend time with them and talk to them and learn about them and ask them questions so I can better understand them and why they are who they are.
And I know you probably already said this, but siblings,
I have three brothers.
three brothers. And are you? Where do you fall? Youngest, oldest,
I am
middle?
one of the middle, so
Okay.
I have two older brothers and one younger brother.
So what was that like growing up with all brothers and you?
Oh man, it was being an only girl was tough because I always felt left out.
Yeah.
Um, I wasn't capable of doing the things that the boys could do.
Hmm.
I was always the fragile little flower. That was pretty frustrating because to date, I think the reason why I am such a strong person is because I felt like I always had to prove my strength to people.
Did you feel protected?
I did not feel
You
protected.
didn't?
My brothers beat me up.
Oh no. I
my,
meant from the outside world.
no, my brothers beat me up. I did not feel protected.
Okay.
I definitely feel prected now. Like
Okay.
they are they're my roll dogs now. My brothers got my back. If something goes down and I call them,
Uh-oh.
but I feel like I got into physical altercations with my brothers growing up, especially the one right above me. He was just next level bully.
Yeah. But it evens out.
It evens out.
Yeah.
It figures itself out later on.
Yeah, I've seen that with my own kids. They're starting to relate more
Yeah.
to each other.
They start to make sense of it. They come into each other. I'm watching it with my two as well.
Yeah. What's your favorite sound?
Water.
Water. Why?
It's relaxing. I love the sound of rain. I love the sound of waves crashing. Um, there's something really soothing about water for me, and there always has been. I would say water and certain heartbeats. I have a thing for heartbeats. When I was a little girl, I used to lay my head on my dad's chest and listen to his heartbeat, and I used to love the vibration of his voice.
Nice.
While he spoke, so I could hear the combination of his heartbeat and his voice. And I do that with my husband now.
Okay. And food. Let's talk about food. Are you a foodie?
I'm not a foodie.
Me either.
I like good food, but I'm not a foodie.
Me either. But what's your favorite thing to eat, and where can you get it?
So my favorite thing to eat is gonna sound really silly, but I love salad. I love a good salad.
Like a Caesar?
Nah, just a regular
like a
green
garden salad
with like the right dressing.
Okay.
There's a place in Stamford. It's been there, I don't know, for probably well over 30, 40 years, called Sergio's. It's not the healthiest salad, but they have this they have this dressing that they put on. It's iceberg lettuce, so there's not even like a lot of health in it. But when I tell you there's something in this salad that people just love. And I love steak. So I think if it wasn't for red meat, I would be a vegetarian. I've learned that if you pay attention to your blood type, your body requires certain things, like your blood type. And so I'm type O. Mm-hmm. And evidently back in the day, we were hunters and gatherers. And every once in a while, a good piece of steak or burger.
Feed your soul.
Yeah. So those, I would say salad, and the total opposites was salad and beef.
It's interesting. I was a vegetarian for 15 years and I still don't like salad.
Really?
I mean, I ate all types of different vegetarian and vegan meals, but I never really liked straight up salad.
Yeah, and I love me some salad.
Unless it had so much stuff on it that it wasn't salad. Like just, but then it was more like a heavier meal.
Yeah.
So we're getting close to the end, right?
Yep.
So I'll speak from my perspective. I said it before, but this is not something I would have ever done. I'm kind of surprised I made it through. I'm glad we were talking the whole time. But I think it's very valuable and it's going to be significant. Could you tell I was uncomfortable?
No.
Good.
I could not tell you were uncomfortable. It was like having a conversation with a friend.
Yeah. Yeah, I can say that this proves something to me. You think you know everything about yourself and what you can handle, but this definitely proves something to me about being vulnerable. So I appreciate you.
Thank you for trusting me.
If there are, like I say to everybody, if there are ways that we can collaborate in the future, that's also part of this, right? We're obviously collaborating on this, um, but I think it's important to maintain connections.
Absolutely.
So we'll do that. Thank you for being on halftime, and thank you all for watching. This is halftime.